Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us today, and welcome to Threat Horizon 2021, keeping your business safe. First of all, I'd like to let you know that we're recording this webinar and we'll make it available to you after today. I'd like to introduce myself first. I'm Gordon Christie, Managing Director of IT Hotdesk. I started IT Hotdesk nearly 11 years ago from my small studio at home, and today I direct a team of over 15 technical professionals delivering varied IT services to our customer base located all over Scotland. Today we have two subject matter experts on the webinar. The first I would like to introduce is Ali Stewart from the Royal Bank of Scotland Fraud Prevention Team. Ali, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, thanks Gordon, and good morning everyone. I'm Ali Stewart, Fraud Awareness Analyst for the Royal Bank of Scotland. My region covered is the entire country, Scotland. I've been with the bank for over 16 years altogether, and for the last 2.5 years I've concentrated on sharing education and awareness with businesses from a wide variety of sectors, and I'm focused on doing my bit to support their existing fraud management frameworks and reduce losses, ultimately is the aim.
Thanks, Ali. I'd also like to introduce AJ. AJ leads IT Hotdesk Cyber Security Division. AJ, can you give us a quick introduction, please?
Hi, thanks, Gordon. Hi, I'm AJ, Cybersecurity Architect at IT Hotdesk, where my passion is protecting our customers from cyber threats. My background is in computer science, and I've been consulting businesses on infrastructure and security since 2009. Also, I noticed we have some customers connected today, so welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, AJ, and yes, thanks for everyone that has joined today. Great to see all different types of businesses connected to our webinar, including some of our customers, so a special welcome. During the webinar, if you have any questions, then please just post them and we'll try and answer as many of them as possible. If we don't answer all your questions, then we will reach out to you after the webinar. Okay, so let's get started, AJ.
Okay, so in this session, we're going to talk about the threats that are emerging for 2021, how we see that space evolving, and how we plan to defend against those threats, and what you can do to shield your business from interruption. First up is ransomware. So you might be wondering, what is ransomware? Ransomware is a form of malware that encrypts a victim's files. The attacker then demands a ransom from the victim to restore access to the data. Users are shown instructions for how to pay to get the decryption key. The cost can range from a few £100s to millions, payable to cyber criminals, usually in a cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin. By the way, if you ever come across ransomware, we do not recommend paying the ransom. Over the last few years, we've seen increases in ransomware. Ransomware is big business for cyber criminals, and by all counts, it's only getting bigger, despite growing awareness of the threat and ever more sophisticated and aggressive means to combat it. In the past, we have seen some quite clever ransomware that is typically delivered through some form of social engineering, such as phishing, wherein users are tricked into downloading a malicious email attachment or clicking a malicious link. If the user opens such attachments, it can lead to an infection, which proceeds to encrypt company data, holding the business to ransom. However, we've seen some small changes, and we believe in 2021, we're going to see the next generation of ransomware.
Thanks, AJ. So can you explain what some of the trends are in the ransomware that we expect to see next year?
Sure. The main change we are seeing is the adoption of a ransomware as a service model. Criminal enterprise now sell ransomware services. Other threat actors can effectively buy a license, upload a list of targets, and the service owner takes a cut of the profits. Buyers of these services get a login to a cloud portal, which tracks their victims, infection counts, profits, and even has built-in support options, as we see on the slide there. This allows less tech-savvy criminals to operate in this space, which will increase attacks in the coming years. The other main change is the auctioning of data. Data extraction is now occurring prior to encryption. Threat actors are now threatening to leak data, and in some cases, even contact ICO, GDPR regulatory bodies about the breach they performed. They effectively want to name and shame companies which don't pay the ransom. These advances are driven by financial motivation, and these attacks are adapting all the time. The actual viruses are evolving as well. Using advanced techniques, in 2021, we may see malware which is far harder to detect, easier to spread, and able to adjust its tactics in order to inflict more damage on businesses.
Okay, thanks, AJ. That's really interesting. So I'm assuming we're ahead of this now. So how do we protect our customers against these types of threats?
So the solution is twofold: incorporating a cyber-aware workforce with a good security posture backed up by technological solutions. Creating a human firewall in your business may prevent malware even reaching your network, and this is achieved via security awareness training. Employees and business leaders need to be aware of cyber threats through continuous training and security awareness programs. Cyber criminals often play on ignorance, and an informed workforce will assist to lower this risk. Technological solutions include next-generation antivirus and endpoint detection and response software, which also makes use of AI, namely machine learning. Relentlessly backing up your organization's mission-critical data, systems, and applications so that you can walk away from an infection without paying the ransom and minimizing downtime.
Okay, thanks, AJ. So phishing seems to be one of the root causes. So let's talk about that for a moment. Let's explain what exactly is phishing.
So phishing is a cybercrime in which a target or targets are contacted by email, telephone, or text message by someone posing as a legitimate contact to lure individuals into providing sensitive data such as personally identifiable information, examples of which include banking, credit card details, and account credentials. The information is then used to access important accounts and can result in identity theft, financial loss, and damage brand reputation. In 2021, we expect phishing to still be the primary attack vector for threat actors with some new additions, namely the use of AI to reduce the time overhead of creating a phishing campaign. Cyber criminals, like businesses, are interested in achieving their goals whilst becoming more efficient. Gathering information about a target and crafting a quality message all takes time and effort. AI can automate and streamline this process to quickly gather personal information using algorithms like those in marketing and ad targeting systems. AI will assist to find personal data that users are willing to pay a ransom for. Based on demographic data and gathered personal information, attackers can leverage machine learning to predict the best victims and approach. AI will also be used to enhance natural language text in phishing emails. By using natural language, attackers can make it sound like an email came from a victim's boss, financial institution, coworker, or friend, all without a person actually writing the email. These factors combined will allow fully automated phishing platforms with smarter targeting and scalability. Expect volume to rise with increasingly tailored content to try and trick you.
Okay, thanks, AJ. It's really interesting. So, I mean, what can businesses do to protect themselves moving forward?
So once again, the solution is a fusion between a cyber-aware workforce and technology. Security awareness training will help employees and management keep updated on red flags in phishing attempts such as urgency. A common tactic in phishing is to put pressure on the recipient to action a request quickly. Employees need to know that they have the breathing space to verify requests. Having detailed policies about what to do when a request is made will ensure businesses verify all email requests. From a technology perspective, a good email security gateway is required, preferably one from a major vendor who uses machine learning themselves to accurately map your social sphere and prevent phishing emails even landing in your inbox.
Thanks, AJ, for that. Ali, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I'd echo everything that AJ has just said there. A multi-layered and well-documented approach combining people and technology is the best practice to follow if organisations want to stand the best chance possible of protecting themselves from the many threats out there. One specific way a lot of companies test the risk specifically of staff acting on phishing emails is through the practice that some refer to as ethical phishing. This involves the sending of test emails from within the business, which include links or attachments to open, and using the results of the exercise to determine that potential risk. It is also a great way of spreading awareness and education to the workforce at the same time.
Thanks, guys. It's good to know that our defence is available for this stuff. We're increasingly hearing about that type of phishing known as vishing. So, AJ, what is vishing and how do you think it'll advance during 2021 then?
So, vishing is where cyber criminals use voicemail to lure you into making the next move that compromises your systems. Currently, they mainly rely on voice-to-speech services like Microsoft Teams, as hearing an unknown voice may arouse suspicion. However, victims do fall for voicemails where they only read the transcribed text, so expect this trend to continue. Moving into 2021, we expect a rise in deepfake audio vishing, a phrase I never thought I would say. Hackers use machine learning to clone someone's voice from multiple digital audio calls, video calls, and social media content. This content is combined with social engineering techniques to deliver a voicemail which appears to come from someone you know with instructions to follow. There has already actually been one documented case of this type of attack. Last year, the chief executive of a UK energy firm was tricked into sending €220,000 to a Hungarian supplier after receiving a phone call supposedly from the CEO of his parent company in Germany. The executive was told that the transfer was urgent and that the funds had to be sent within the hour. He did so, and the attackers were never caught. Combining this technology with caller ID spoofing really shows the need to verify voicemail requests even if you recognize the number and the person's voice. This is a big worry, as some financial processes rely on voice confirmation.
Okay. Well, that's quite disturbing, really. I mean, there are lots of our customers that rely on voice confirmation to make payments. So should they not rely on voicemail anymore then?
That's right, Gordon. Voicemails can be faked, so a proper qualified discussion is the only way to assure legitimacy. Never blindly execute a request via voicemail without confirmation.
So Ali, what's the bank's stance on phishing then?
Great question, Gordon. Fraudsters not only contact the bank to try and obtain information or process transactions posing as the customer, but we also receive regular reports from customers of the bank being impersonated. They'll claim there is suspicious activity such as logins, transactions, or even internal staff investigations. Our message on this is always the same and consistently simple. If the call is unexpected and/or you don't recognise the voice on the end of the phone, please hang up and independently verify the contact before providing any information.
Yeah, that's a good tip. So what about the future impact on banks using voice recognition software then, Ali?
This year in particular, voice recognition technology software has evolved and enabled banks to protect more customers from impersonation fraud. As with everything related to cybercrime, processes must continue to be reviewed, and we're absolutely the same in that, as new technologies emerge, and this will be a key focus for banks moving forward. It's important to assure people, however, that we would never rely on just one form of verification. For example, voice recognition is part of a current layered process, which also includes passing security details, regards the account and the individual speaking to us as well.
Thanks, Ali. It's really interesting to hear how the bank are protecting customers with that multi-layered approach. It's kind of very similar, actually, really, to the multi-factor authentication that we deploy out to customer sites. So, do the bank communicate alerts regarding cyber fraud, etc., Ali?
Awareness is really crucial, as is education. Therefore, we will continue to share alerts via social media streams, pop-up messages or poster messages when you log in, and other communications are regularly sent directly from relationship teams at the bank.
Okay, that's great, Ali. So AJ, what else do you have for us today?
So we have discussed some specific cyber attacks facing businesses currently and beyond, but what about the individuals and groups driving these attacks? Who are they and what are their objectives? Let's talk about the types of cyber threat actors that we see. The first is the state-sponsored actor. A state-sponsored actor is a true force to be reckoned with. They have the infrastructure, power, and substantial technical, financial, and material resources to make them unrivaled. State-sponsored threat actors are typically well-funded and sophisticated, and as the name suggests, sponsored or supported by a government entity. Now, although state-sponsored actors typically target other government entities, the issue is when their attacks spread. The most famous example of this was the NotPetya virus in 2017, which originally targeted infrastructure in Ukraine, but spread all over the globe, eventually hitting 65 countries and causing $10 billion worth of financial damage. To this day, it remains the most destructive virus ever released based on economic damage. The point here is that the attack was not aimed at specific businesses, but due to the self-propagating nature of the virus itself, it spread globally and infected countless unintentional victims, including Maersk, Cadbury's, and DHL. As an interesting side note, the Zurich American Insurance Company has refused to pay out a claim for cleaning up damage from a NotPetya infection on the grounds that NotPetya is an act of war that is not covered by their cyber policy. The next threat actor is organised criminals. Cybercrime is a goldmine for successful criminals, not only because there's a lot of money involved. Some say global damage related to cybercrime is expected to reach $6 trillion by 2021, but also because actors don't need to be sophisticated to carry out these attacks anymore. Cybercriminal actors are more interested in financial gain, stealing personally identifiable information like credit card numbers and account credentials. They will either steal these directly from their victims or access this type of data in cybercrime forums on the dark web. And they will use any means necessary to carry out this goal: phishing, ransomware, crypto miners, remote access Trojans, exploit kits, social media, data financial theft, extortion, and lastly, blackmail. Hacking group Fin7 is notorious for being well organized and disciplined in their craft. If you've ever had your credit card number stolen at a restaurant, you have most likely met Fin7. Fin7 developed their own malware and attack styles, proving very effective in point-of-sale malware. The group hit companies such as Trump Hotels and Whole Foods, stealing more than 5 million credit and debit card numbers. Operating like a professional business, Fin7 were estimated to make $50 million per month and have specific internal departments such as malware and phishing. Then we have the lone wolf. Lone wolf threat actors are a powerful force in the cybercrime underground. The popularization of the cybercrime as a service model is furthering the reach of these lone wolf actors. They operate individually on the dark web, known for the anonymity it provides. Threat actors like Gookie, a lone wolf malware developer selling his malware on the cybercrime forums, are prime examples of what today's lone wolf threat actor looks like. These type of actors prove difficult for law enforcement to catch due to their business model, which allows them to distance themselves from the crimes their customers commit.
Thanks, AJ, for that overview. Quite scary to think, really, that crimes are so organised in some respects. It's not something. It is something that we hear about quite a lot. But what can businesses do to protect themselves from these groups?
So the different type of threat actors will overlap in the attack vectors used. Reducing risk of being a victim still follows the same basic advice. Patch your systems frequently, ensuring all operating systems, software, and device firmware are constantly updated, and make sure you're validating that the patches have actually been deployed. Enroll your employees in security awareness training. Ensure staff and business leaders are aware of red flags, especially with phishing attempts, and have policies in place for cyber events. Have a strong email security gateway solution. Ensure you are running a good next generation antivirus product, and consider next generation firewalls for your networks. These are the minimum steps businesses should be taking to be secure for 2021. Cybersecurity is all about staying ahead of threats rather than managing them later.
Thanks, AJ. So Ali, it would be interesting to hear what you have seen as the biggest threat to customers.
Well, that's an interesting question, and there are two key areas we see from the bank's perspective that lead to the biggest losses. Easily the biggest threat we and the industry see is through a scam called invoice redirection fraud, whereby either a genuine invoice is intercepted or a fake invoice produced under the guise of a genuine customer containing different bank details. The intended beneficiary is then left out of pocket, and often customers only realise the fraud has occurred when the customer later chases for the payment. This type of fraud cost the UK economy over £114 million alone in 2019. The other area which represents the largest losses to customers is CEO fraud, or what we in the bank more commonly refer to as the bogus boss scam. These are spear phishing emails, usually under the guise of a boss or someone more senior, asking for an urgent payment to be made. Across the UK, although this scam is only reported to have been successful in a small minority of cases, over 80% of businesses say they've been targeted, with losses last year reported at just under £18 million. That's why fraudsters continue to target staff, as in the hope that the person will let their guard down for just a moment, enabling them to be successful.
Wow, thanks, Ali. Those are big numbers. Okay, so thanks, AJ and Ali. That's been really quite interesting. Thanks so much for sharing all this information. And of course, thanks to all that have participated in joining us today, along with asking some great questions. So let's start wrapping up. AJ, Ali, what do businesses need to do now?
Well, Gordon, cyber protection is all about risk. Where are those risks in your business and what can be done to lower that risk? We offer cybersecurity assessments to identify areas that introduce risk and provide a solutions matrix. This allows clients to focus on what really makes a secure, protected, and safe business. These assessments can be booked by filling out the form on our website or by picking up the phone to me or any of the team.
From my perspective, let's remember that as much as we are using evolving technologies to help protect ourselves from fraud, cyber criminals will always be one step ahead. Therefore, it's crucial to continue to stay on the front foot regards education. I'd highly recommend additional resources such as the RBS Business Hub, which includes a recently published Cyber Resilience Guide for businesses in partnership with the National Cyber Security Centre, as well as external campaigns such as Businesses Against Scams. The knowledge gained from proactively seeking out such materials also has a really positive impact on the culture towards fraud, both personally and within an organisation. I'd also like to finish off with a plea. If anyone should fall victim to fraud or indeed identify an attempt, please notify your bank in the first instance. This intelligence is key to how we help protect customers, and we are eager to put up as many barriers to cybercrime activity as we possibly can.
That's great. Well, that about ends our webinar. Let's take a look at some of the questions that have been asked of us today. The first question is, in a ransomware attack, why not just pay the ransom? AJ, I'll maybe get you to answer that one.
Sure. That's an excellent question. The first reason is that it sets a precedent. If cyber criminals know you will pay, you're going to have to expect more attacks. Secondly, there's no guarantee you will be sent a decryption key even if you do pay. Thirdly, which is something a lot of people overlook, is that most businesses do not have ready-to-go crypto wallets or crypto exchange accounts, so they can't even pay instantly anyway. It is far better to invest in security awareness training for the employees and good technological defences.
Yeah, can't agree more with that. That's absolutely right. So next question that we've got here is, what would you say is the most common reason why customers fall victim to the top threats that Ali explained earlier?
Yeah, another really good question. And what I'll do is share what we see as a trend with the cases reported to us. It's really that people factor and where we as people fall into the jigsaw. So cyber criminals will target us because they perceive us to be a vulnerability. And something we hear quite commonly at the moment is circumstances such as the pandemic and lots of businesses adjusting not just their processes, but their working environment. So moving from office-based to working more and more from home. That has intensified the opportunity and certainly led to an increase in comments along the lines of, normally we follow such and such a process, but because we're isolated and we're working at home and we can't just go across the office to ask our colleagues the questions, certain parts of the process are bypassed. So it's really something I would stress is the human impact on that, and that's why, again, we keep repeating the message that education and awareness is key, because the more people are alert, the more they'll spot the signs and just think twice and ask the questions. So that's the thing we want to do as we fight back, is remember, yes, we're vulnerable, but almost the most important part of the process is us as well.
Okay. Final question for today then. The question is, our company uses laptops and our employees frequently travel. We are worried about data loss. If the laptop is lost or stolen, what can we do to prevent this? So I'm going to answer this one. That's a great question, really. I mean, so many people use mobile devices now, laptops and what have you. So the one thing that you should definitely do is ensure that the device's hard drive is fully encrypted. That way, without the user password, the drive contents are completely unreadable and are therefore protected. So also there is technology now that can track devices, a bit like Find My iPhone type technology that can also be deployed. So that would be our answer to that one. Well, that now ends our webinar. All that's left for me to say is to thank AJ from IT Hot Desk and also Ali Stewart, of course, from the Royal Bank of Scotland. It's been great chatting to you both today. Finally, thanks to our attendees. If you're interested in having a further one-to-one chat, then of course feel free to reach out to us or to fill in the form on our website. We should also send out an email with a link to the recording of this webinar, which you can replay and share with your colleagues at your convenience. Maybe a final thank you to Natalie, who's been the producer of the webinar today. So thanks, Natalie, as well. Thanks all.